Good evening and welcome to Blackpool for the World Masters Final. Nearly 300 players starting out in this tournament. We are down to our final two. Tom Cousins takes on Jake McCartney in tonight's showpiece final. Two of the finest players in the game, both winners of pro titles last weekend, and the form players at the moment. They have played so well to get through to this final. How will they fare in this race to 10? Mark Shepherd and Tony Holgate with you. And Tony, I think we can all agree Tom has been the absolute form player of this tournament so far.
I just think he's been very, very lucky. No, he's been in blistering form, demolishing everyone in front of him. McAllister had a dodgy start in the semi-final, got 3 or 4 behind him and never really caught it up. In the second half of the match, I think it's quite even. You know, John's found his break and start to do his thing, but it was the early part of that match where Cousins had killed it. McCartney, my word, he's been playing well since he came over. And like you said, Mark, the two winners of events 5 and 6 of the Ultimate Pro just over a week ago, it seems like a year ago now, are playing each other in this final. It is a race to 10.
What a performance it's been from Jake McCartney. He's flown all the way over from Australia. He spent a lot of time over in the UK during lockdown and the period afterwards, so he's played in a lot of UK-based events, but has been back in Australia for a while. He's had the furthest to travel of all the competitors. Came over here, won a pro title on his first weekend, and finds himself in a World Masters final.
Yeah, and he's done his ankle ligaments in again. It's a recurring injury he has, and he's had to wear some softer shoes, because his dress shoes he'd be limping about the table, so he's a bit injured, but it's not affecting his pool playing. His arm's all right.
He's always got a very positive attitude. He's not one to dwell on situations. He said in his post-match interview earlier on, don't necessarily have the best layout of balls in that game, but you just play the balls from where they are, make the best of it. He's a very easy character to support in that sense. He's a popular guy over in the UK. Made a lot of friends in his time over here.
Yeah, he's great fun, Jake. Always a life and soul on a night out. But it's Tom Cousins on his night out that breaks and finishes the opening frame.
Tom Cousins has been on the table pretty much the whole day today. We saw him in action on this main table at the very beginning of our coverage at 10 o'clock this morning. Some 11 hours later, he's through a few more matches, won his World Championship match, and then has spent the rest of the day playing in the World Masters. 256-man field plus some preliminary round matches takes us up to nearly 300, so the players had to come through 6 matches to get through to this stage. Tom coming through 9-5 against John McAllister in the semi-final. Jake McCartney coming through 9-7 against Greg Batten. 2 tough opponents for those semi-finals. Tom just hasn't really done anything wrong. I mean, we've watched a lot of him today. Just been relentless. When he comes to the table, just does the right stuff. Most of it's been big breaks and clearances, but he's played the right shot. When he's had to play tactical stuff, he's got involved with that. Jake's got a decent break, and that's a pretty good example of it. Obviously not on the same level as Tom's, and maybe that will prove to be a decisive factor in this match. Made 3 balls off this break though.
Jake, his game's not quite as precise as Tom's when he runs around the balls. He does tend to drift in and out of position, but what he's really good at is recovery shots. You know, he's a big shot maker, Jake McCartney. You think he's fallen over on the finish, and then he'll produce some magic and get himself over the line.
And where he's good is that he doesn't care when he slips out of position. He's not one of those players that's reproaching himself. He just plays from where he is, whatever the situation is. That's a great first shot.
He beat Greg Batten in the semi-final earlier today.
He's been very unlucky there. He's played a good cannon, but he's got the white welded to the yellow. Yeah, Greg Batten's been in good form. He was one of the form players, obviously getting through to that semi-final. Tough match there for Jake. It's a pretty good shot. Don't know whether Tom will be tempted to try and play a loss of turn and pot the red that's over that pocket.
I think, Mark, that's exactly what he'll do. There you have it. Tom Cousins. Spin to the Mark Shepherd School of Pool. He's read your book.
That's the key thing. Let's get a plug in for that early doors. Yeah, I mean the key thing about these rules is that covering a pocket isn't anywhere near the benefit that it used to be. The World Masters previously played to a different rule set. It's been a very positive innovation, the switch to international rules.
The little look on McCartney's face there, because he has left a tempter for Tom Cousins. And what Tom's been so good at all week is thundering away these sort of chances, which, you know, this is a bit of a twitchy one, but something you'd never see Tom do. But it's a tough ball into the top right hand corner. I suggest he's going to take, try and hold for maybe the ball in the centre. He's been so clinical the last 9 to 10 days, Cousins. And you're running out of words and superlatives for him. I mean, it's just incredible. I mean, the relentless way he goes around the table.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. I mean, it feels like we're overhyping him, but if you've watched, well, even just one of his matches is generally enough to get the picture, but if you've watched the whole suite of them, it's just been so consistently good.
He'd rather have not had that little rub off that red ball there, because he was playing to get on the ball in the centre, but still okay. Has a choice of 2 yellows he can pot cleanly. Wants to slide over and leave a little bit of angle there, and he has done. And now he can get himself quite close to the yellow ball down on the right. And this will be frame number 2 for the Welshman.
Just makes it look so effortless. It's not just the way he's cueing the shots, which is superb, but it's just playing the right shot time after time. It's obviously helpful when you just keep winning, because he's in such good groove at the moment. He's constantly on the table, so he's just constantly practicing. No time to get cold, no time to slip out of good form. It's worth saying as well, this is a draw that's not really set up to favour the top players. There are other occasions where you might be the seeded player and have a sort of favourable draw as a result of your seeding, but this has been a random draw in every round since the last 64. Big field tournament, shortish races in the early stages. They were playing races to 7. So there were every opportunity for a banana skin, but Tom just kept marching on.
He's such an imposing figure, though, you know, and presence at the table. He now comes with an aura around him. And you see players, and I've started to see it certainly in the last 12 months, that they'll make a mistake against Tom that they wouldn't make in a match against somebody else. It just sort of manifests itself in players' heads.
Well, what have we here? A very rare moment. A dry break from Tom. Yeah, coming back to what you're saying there, I agree. I mean, that's almost the sign of how good a player somebody is. Once other people start becoming scared of them, they do get the benefit of a few free mistakes from other people, but you have to really earn that position to start with.
I'm trying to think who it was. It's one of the other players, actually, when I was talking about this earlier in the week, and saying about, you know, players make mistakes against Tom that they wouldn't make normally, and they turned around and said, well, he's earned that right.
Yeah, I mean, that's exactly the right way of looking at it. He's earned it over a period of time as well. I mean, let's not forget, it was 2013 and 14 that he won those world titles. He's been at the top of the game ever since then. Could easily add more world titles, and this year he's going to be the front runner to add a third title. He's never won the World Masters before, which is maybe a surprising statistic. Chance to make amends for that. You could see from his interview after his last match that it does mean a lot to him. Very easy to think the fact that he's so laid back, it doesn't care the same, but actually I don't think that's the case at all. He does desperately want to win.
Well, you don't win pro events in the ultimate pool without wanting to win them, and then come and make a final of a World Masters as well on top. So playing on the Australian team here, and they won't be in action tomorrow in the World Team Shootout. Scotland did for them on Friday night in the preliminary rounds, in dramatic style, I might add.
Yeah, we're all looking forward to that World Team Shootout tomorrow. That's always a great event. We've had a bit of a pause on the coverage of team stuff over the weekend, but those team matches are very entertaining.
I wonder if Jake's been a bit fortunate today. He didn't mean to connect with that middle pocket jaw. It's okay.
Well, this is what Jake needs to do, get motoring early on. See, a race to 10 is a very long one, but we've seen very consistently the theme is that you don't want to let Tom get too far ahead. So, first frame on the board for the Australian. 2 frames to 1 now for Tom Cousins.
Kira right behind Jake there, that's his partner. She's the Australian team manager as well. There are quite a lot of officials walking about with all these teams with clipboards, and I don't never know who's the higher upper, if you like. Second in command, but
yeah, there's a lot of organisation involved in this. There's a lot of different tournaments going on, playing across 42 tables around the venue. Numerous teams, numerous tournaments. A lot more of it is done online now. It used to be that it was all the score sheets on paper. Now everything's pretty much in real time online, but still a lot of organisation goes into that. Either of these two gentlemen would be a very worthy winner, of course, of this title. It is called the World Masters. It's meant to include countries from all around the world, and it's very fitting that it's the player from the team that's travelled the furthest that has made it to this final. The Australians have been staunch supporters of this tournament, going right back to when it first started in the early 90s, consistently sending over teams. Very challenging at times to send over your best team, because the logistics of getting the people physically over here sometimes overtake the peer selection criteria. Incredible to think this tournament started back in Manchester in 1993. It's been held in Blackpool the majority of the time since then. 5 years around the Manchester area, then from 1998 onwards it's been in Blackpool, bar the last couple of years when we've gone abroad, Killarney and Ireland in 22. Morocco in 23, and then back to the spiritual home of Blackpool this year, just a little way along the seafront from the venue we used for a lot of years in the lead up to the pandemic period. Tom will certainly have happy memories of trips up to Blackpool, the 2 world titles, plus goodness knows how many professional titles he's won up here in recent months. So, cue ball in hand, gets underway in this frame, as he so often does, immediately tries to get into the difficult area. Wants to remove these 2 balls at the bottom of the table. Balls in a kind of diagonal line from top left to bottom right. Almost like a kind of practice position. All the reds do have a pocket, just a bit of traffic around you've got to negotiate. Just moving the 8 ball just to make a bit more space at the bottom of the table. It's also quite helpful now he's pushed it towards the middle of the table, doesn't have to come back down for it. It's a great exponent of break building. It's a very hard style to copy because you watch him play and you almost can't figure out what it is he's doing. It's all so effortless, but he really thinks through these patterns. Even though he's a great potter, he tries to make life as simple as he can for himself.
This is the thing, he's got that cue ball like on a bit of string. He's almost orchestrating the cue ball around the table to his tune.
It's always controlled. It's tempting to think the best player is the one that can play the really wild positional shots with a lot of spin. Obviously there's a time and a place for that, but Tom's generally playing within himself. Another nice touch there. Knew that a gentle cannon on that yellow would hold good position for the red to the opposite centre. And the fact that he's brought the 8 ball up means that he can take the ball that's over the top left hand corner pocket last. If the 8 ball was down the bottom end of the table, that wouldn't have been a good option at all because he'd have struggled to get back down there. He can play these either way around, to be honest. He can play top left or top right, but just gave himself the extra option. The fact the 8 ball's just hanging, waiting in the middle of the table.
Yeah, it's great to watch this. I mean, if you make the comparison between the players, I'll do it in a musical way. Well, I'm not going to sing, but you'd probably say Tom Cousins, you compare him to Mozart, and probably Jake McCartney to the Happy Mondays. But it's black for 3-1 to Cousins.
Both very entertaining players in their own right. 3-1 it is for Tom Cousins. Again, just looks to be playing so well within himself at the moment. Doesn't look like he's having to chase anything. The issue for most players that play him is just getting enough chances. He just doesn't give much away. Seen one dry break there, but that's a pretty rare item. Maybe if you're lucky you get one in off in a match of this length. Certainly not prone to missing when he's on a clearance. So you need to be making a decent number of clearances off your own break, otherwise you just slip far too far behind him. Not many matches over the course of a season that you're going to play a race to 10. This is a nice format for the players. World Championship itself, of course, has matches of that kind of length. Most pro events, bar the occasional final, you don't normally play quite that long. So let's see what Tom can do with this break. Drills it in, so much power. Look at the way these balls are split out. The red's all just hanging over pockets. The yellow's not looking too bad either.
No, it's a good split again. That break should be illegal.
I think if anything it's got better. I mean, we've been talking about the quality of this break for goodness knows how many years, and certainly over the last couple of years, but it just seems to get more and more consistent. The statistics of how many he clears off his own breaks once he pots a ball are frightening. And he's got to the stage now where really is very consistently potting a ball. I mean, even amongst the other players that are in that conversation for the best break, the likes of Jack Whelan, Shane Thompson, Chris Melling, I'm sure any of them are potting with quite this consistency. With Tom, it's a real talking point if he somehow doesn't make a ball. Also, the straightness of the break, it's not just the power, but the fact he's drawing the cue ball back in a straight line in the middle of the tables, meaning that he's not getting near the pocket very often, so he doesn't get too many in-offs. And then as a result of all of that, the clearances that follow end up looking very simple because he's got the ball so nicely spread out. I mean, this one was such a practice position. He could have cleared up in half of this time.
We could do some simple commentary. You say Tom Cousins breaks, pots the ball and clears up.
Yeah, I mean, I think we can probably commentate in advance for a few of the next few frames as well.
It's just monotonous.
Such a pleasure to watch, though. Sometimes when things are one-sided, it makes less of a spectacle, but somehow you can't help but admire the artistry of this.
Well, I'll tell you what it does, it's almost hypnotic. Watching him go through his finishes and his control of the cue ball and the pace he goes, it's just, it's that one pace all the time. It never speeds up, it doesn't slow down.
Yeah, there's definitely something hypnotic about the pace he moves around the table. It's just so sort of steady. It never looks like he's in a hurry, but actually if you look at the pure times, he's getting through the frames very quickly. I mean, a lot of players, if you said we're playing a race to 10 with no match clock, people would be rolling their eyes and saying, goodness, we're going to be here all evening. But you just know with Tom that we're going to move the match along at a very steady pace. I mean, more time is going to be spent racking the balls up between the frames than clearing them up at this rate. Great job as always being done by our officials. A lot of referees involved across the 42 tables that we've got in the venue. So Jake McCartney, frame 6, 4-1 down already, needs to get something going here. It's a very different break, isn't it? He's getting a lot of power into it, but it's nowhere near the same level of control. With Tom, it's always just straight down the middle. Jake there, he hit those well, got a good contact and a bit unlucky not to pot, but the cue ball nowhere near as well centred on the table.
Well, he can get to that yellow over the middle, but I don't think yellows are really good. It's getting a red. The yellow at the top of the table, guarded by 4 reds, that just takes yellows out of the equation. But it's trying to, he can play that red into the middle, the right middle, but this is a very delicate little trickle, and it's not a very easy pot.
May have to go for that, just in the absence of anything better.
Either that or a double. But I think it's going to be he could go down in the bottom corner if he doesn't fancy the little roll. That's where he's gone. Oof. Great pot.
Yeah, I mean, he is fundamentally a great potter, but because his position has been so good this weekend, we've actually seen him play precious few long shots. I feel like a season or two ago we were seeing him play more long stuff. There was a time you talk about him being very happy just to leave balls at distance, not overcomplicate the position. But I think his position has come on even since then. He's never really out of position.
It's been a couple of times, like early in the first pro event, the one he won. I do remember. I can't remember who he was playing now because everything's just morphed into one big, massive pool tournament. But he thumped a ball, a yellow down a rail, length of the table, and I mean he thumped it, and it went in, a rabbit down a hole. It was ridiculous. So, wow. So when it's required.
Yeah, I mean, he's always been an excellent cueist. That's obviously the foundation of his success, and that's kind of the foundation of his break. It's not just he's throwing his body at it, he's cueing properly through it.
His shot selection and the way he works around his patterns is just second to none. This is him. Nobody takes finishes out like this man. I mean, he chooses the correct shot every time. He sees shots that nobody else sees with a little cannon to move things and make it look easy. You know, I've looked at the tables and I've played pool obviously all my life, and I've seen most finishes, and then he'll play something little intricate little shot and you think, wow, I never saw that, and it's just opened everything up in one go, and they're all easy. I wish I knew how to do that back in my career, instead of going around the houses everywhere and having to stand on one leg and swing from the lampshades trying to pop balls.
You'd learn a lot if you did a montage of the first and second shots of a lot of his clearances, because he's so good at immediately getting after the problems.
Yeah, well, the top players, they'll break off pot ball, and then they'll study the table, let the clock run down a bit, call their extension immediately if they're not quite happy, so they've mapped out everything, and then it's go. As soon as that bit runs down, and that's, you know, you watch your Jordan Shepherds, your Chris Mellins, they're all the same. Thomas, all the top players, they use that extension right at the start of the frame.
And you can tell when people are having to reroute, because they end up having to pause and go around and look at other options. But Tom is so good at then executing against the plan.
Well, there's a little slip. He's left himself on the rail. Now we can criticise him. Terrible shot.
This pot's only 99 out of 100 rather than 100 out of 100. Probably more than that for a player of his quality. Well, I mean, this really has just been a continuation of the quality we've seen all day. Tom's Welsh teammate sitting behind him, looking on. Only Bale on the left there. Almost just seems inevitable somehow, doesn't it? The scoreline you can't predict, but it's just so hard to back against him winning any match that he's in right now. He's never been in better shape to do the World Masters World Championship double. Still 16 players remaining in the main World Championship draw, but he's the standout name amongst those 16. Amazingly, he wasn't even seeded for the World Championships. Wales used their seeding position for somebody else and put him into the qualifying rounds, so confident they were that he'd come through them.
And he did just that.
Yeah, I mean, it was an interesting tactical choice, but I suppose ultimately it was correct.
But I'll tell you something else, and this shows the measure of the man as well. That if that had been done in my day to one of the top players, let's say, in any international side, there would have been all sorts of controversy. There'd have been arguments throughout. He said nothing. Not bothered, that's fine. Just nothing, just play me pool. You know, I think I'd have had something to say if I'd have been chucked in the qualifiers.
Yeah, I agree, and I mean his attitude has been great. He's not at all complacent. I mean, you can see when you interview him after a win, he'll express some vulnerabilities, that he found some things difficult. He was relieved to get through. Like, you can see it means a lot to him. Obviously, every run comes to an end. I mean, he's been on a crazy run going on for 2 years now. It won't last forever, but right now it's so red hot, it's not very easy to see an end to it.
Well, at least we've got a nice finish here for Jake McCartney. Shouldn't pose too many problems and peg one back.
Yeah, I mean, you can almost forget there's two people in this final, because we've seen a lot more of Tom at the table. Jake really hasn't done a whole lot wrong. He's obviously played great to get to this final. He's got the one frame on the board, had loads of other chances. Might have been a case of taking the ball to the right middle when he was on it nicely a moment ago, but still in very good position. Need to be quite so close to that red, but it's absolutely fine because he always wanted to take the one to the top right next. And this has been equally textbook from Jake. One of those situations that because Tom's playing so well, the other guy doesn't get the plaudits he deserves, but good performance this.
Yeah, nice shot there from Jake McCartney. Gets a round of applause from the crowd. And the Aussies are there, making themselves heard. He's got plenty of support from his Australian team members.
Yeah, nice for him to have some travelling support. Of course, a lot of the time that he was over here on his own, he had a lot of support from friends on the UK scene, but got his international colleagues with him to witness this. As a storyline, both of these would be good winners. Tom, of course, just from the epic couple of years and the fact he hasn't won a World Masters title. Jake, from the fact that he's travelled all around the world, he's brought his Australian team with him. What a win this would be for him if he was able to complete this comeback. Jake's breaking the next frame, so chance to get one more back. Didn't have much luck off the last break. Needs to find the ball this time. Well, he finds a ball, but another one he wants.
Cue sandwich.
Did come up dry as well. So it wasn't the best of breaks. Cue ball straight into the corner pocket though. It wasn't hit by anything.
Oh, a bit of salt vinegar on that.
It's never great to go in off your break, but when you're playing Tom Cousins, you just sit down, sort of almost, well, not even fearing the worst, just sort of knowing the worst. Just expect him to come to the table and clear up. As ever, immediately gets into the danger area. He's got this one red tied up on the right hand side. He's got a perfect angle to break straight into it. That's turned out pretty well. He's got a nice angle on the ball, bottom left next, just to drift over to the left hand side. Still just looks like he's practicing. Slight grimace. I mean, it's a pretty good position, but I guess he's become such a perfectionist now with positional play. Two balls on the left hand side are actually reasonably easily accessible, even the one that's covered by the three yellows. He's just trying to figure out the two balls on the right hand side, although they go, it's just a bit less space. Not quite such good options in terms of the pockets that naturally they go for. Top one pots to the right centre. He's just got a slight angle to go up the table, so he can just run the cue ball through and then take the right hand of the two reds bottom right.
Yeah, that's exactly where it's going. Push this red in now, cue ball off the side rail, just leave a little angle on the last one. That's at the bottom of the table, and that'll be his red to get himself onto the black, to trickle into the bottom right hand corner. And this will be frame number 6 for Cousins.
Relentless. What a player and what a performance we're witnessing here in the World Masters final. Tom Cousins has played brilliantly all tournament to get to this point, and he's continued the great form in this final. So we go back to Friday night when he started out his campaign. Beat Lenny Bergnes 7-2. Akhtar Sarali 7-0, Aki Khan 7-2, and his international teammate Ross Dunn 7-1 in the last 32. Jasper Simmons 8-1 in the last 16. Then things got a bit more difficult from the quarterfinals onwards. Ronan McCarthy 8-1, former world champion, and then had to come through another former world champion, John McAllister, 9-5 in the semi-final. Probably an easier draw than he might have had actually in some of those earlier rounds. Less big name players right at the beginning. He's also on that run thrown in a win over Sean Story first thing this morning. That was in the World Championship proper, not in the World Masters, but that was also a match he had to play today. Got the job done very professionally in that one. So today he's beaten some good players. Sean Story, John McAllister and Ronan McCarthy all dispatched in the last few hours.
He had his lucky breakfast with me this morning in the hotel. That's what it was. I want a percentage of prize money for it.
Well, wasn't that lucky? You see where that cue ball's just ended up. Yeah, you'll have to start charging, offering people coaching advice over breakfast in the morning.
Wasn't any coaching advice there, I can say that.
Do you offer any advice on the breakfast itself, or are you just providing small talk?
Not particularly, no. I told him something to avoid for breakfast. And then he went. He was sat with his teammate and buddy, Ross Dunn.
It's been a long day of it. I know there's always the debate about whether pool is a particularly athletic sport, but still,
Yeah, look at me.
you try playing that many pool matches in a row, it does take it out of you.
It'd be great in the Olympics, you see. Go down to the Olympic Village and see all the pool players limbering up. Well, that is a nasty little position that Jake's landed in there. Don't know if he requires some equipment to aid him cueing over this yellow. So he can stretch it.
Just in a position where he just couldn't do anything with the cue ball there. Had to just settle for where he was, just roll that ball in. As a result of which he's now considerably more distant from his work than he would like to have been. He's a player that just doesn't really worry about this kind of thing though. He's not somebody that's there shaking their head thinking, I wish I was in better position. This is where we are, let's just play the shot. Very good characteristic to have. Oh, great pot. Very nicely judged.
Super shot there from the Aussie. Still a little tricky. Pinch this into the middle.
Yeah, he's got a choice. He can play it along, which is dead straight. He just needs to think about what angle he wants on the ball on the right centre.
It's a little bit straight if you want to take it to the top corner because you need to get the cue ball over. Like you said, that angle of for the next red into that middle to get the white up for the black is just very hard to achieve. It's made the pot. Now, has he got enough, or is he going? What he could do is like top and left hand side if he's got the wrong angle, and spin the cue ball into the jaw just before the pocket. With the left hand side on the top spin, try and take it up the table. There you see he's putting the left hand side on now. Tough shot. Had to hit it really hard. That used to be a shot. You'd play that as a smash. What would happen generally? The cue, but it would be on thicker cloths. But the cue ball would come back and then re-grip. So it'd spin back and then spin forward like quite violently. It's almost like a smash swerve if the cue ball goes in an arc. Harder on this table because it's so thin, the cloth. That's overcut.
Yeah, for the most part these tables are much easier to play on, and you can play a lot of shots that you couldn't play on the older style of thicker cloths, but actually that one, as you're rightly saying, is a much harder shot to play on this table. If anything, on this table you have to take the pace off because cushions are quite slippery, so you need to slow the cue ball down enough that it can grip off the cushion. As it was though, Jake did obviously have a shot at that 8 ball because he's overcut it, so obviously it was possible to pot from where he was. It's always a painful one when you miss the 8 ball. It's not great against any opponent, but against Tom you just kind of know that you're not actually going to come back Sometimes if you're playing a less experienced player, you're thinking 8 ball over the pocket, well, yeah, maybe I'll get another look at it.
I mean, that shot he played just before that when he took the cue ball off the top rail and came down for that in the middle, to get that tiny little angle, that's all he wanted to get on that top yellow that he's on now. It's just so well judged, the pace all the time. Everybody else struggles out there. And I know the thing that come back said, well, he's always out in that arena. He's not always out in that arena, but it just when he turns up in the morning, that's how he's getting ironed all the time.
Yeah, and again, I mean, it's a bit like the people playing badly against him. He's kind of earned the right to be out in that arena.
Well, to be fair, he's the number one.
Well, and he keeps winning the matches, particularly importantly. I mean, a lot of players who've been moaning about not being out in the match arena have gone on to lose the matches.
Exactly.
So what are you going to do?
No, I mean, he's the number one. He's earned his right. I mean, you're not going to have me enter Wimbledon and kick Federer off centre court, are you?
Well, that was our plan, Tony.
Yeah. I'd need an oxygen tank just to get to the court. Anyway, this is looking ominous as Cousins gets rid of his last yellow, tapping black over the top left. This for 7-2 and a 5-frame cushion. And is there any way back for the Aussie?
It's a big swing there. Jake was in that frame, had a good chance to get it back to 6-3. 6-3 just somehow sounds a bit more palatable. 7-2 just feels a very long way back. As we take a look at Jake's run as well. I mean, he's had to win so many matches to get through to this point.
I bet he's played a lot more frames than Tom Cousins to get to this stage.
Yeah, I mean, it's such a tough ask, isn't it? Because
Jake's had a lot of matches that have been sort of like, 8-6s, 7-5s. These sort of matches that are quite tight. Whereas Cousins has had a few 8-1s, 7-1s. There's been some hidings he's dished out in net. So Jake McCartney to break frame number 10 with a possible 19. He trails 7-2.
Another powerful break. He has made a ball that time.
Good split as well. As his eyes dart round the table. Immediately looking to plan his route.
Coming back to what we were saying about his route through to the final, he's had to play some good players. Last 64, he had to play Josh Kane, who winner recently, Ultimate Pool, last man standing, but probably more relevant for these purposes, was in the World Championship final last year. Also had to beat Declan Brennan 8-5 in the last 16. Defending champion, very tough opponent. Greg Batten 9-7 in the semi-final. But yeah, I mean, to your point, he's won his last matches 8-5, 8-7 and 9-7, so he's been playing a lot of pool in the last few hours.
He's been playing some very tough opponents, but in tough matches where they've been close and games could have gone either way. Whereas Tom's in his matches, he's sort of just from the outset he's burst into a 3, 4, 5 frame lead, and his opponent's basically sort of thrown in the towel as well. There's a couple of them out there today.
Yeah, I mean, that's again the sort of fear factor of the opponent.
But it's the being demoralised. Ronan McCarthy earlier today, he's one of the legends of the game, and he missed a couple of balls towards the end of the match, and it was almost as if he'd give up. Sean Story threw his arm at several balls towards the end of his match. Something you never see him do. And then there has been others. It's almost as if players, if they don't get in front of them, wow. And that is, how'd you miss that?
What have we just seen there from Jake McCartney? He was in prime position. Look at this shot. He's missed that by a long way as well. Very surprising miss. And having said that Jake wasn't that affected by the pressure, I mean, it may have been he was trying to force an angle or a loss of concentration rather than pure pressure, but that is the kind of thing that happens when you're 7-2 down.
One thing that saves him a little bit where the 8 ball is tucked away behind Jake's reds. No easy starting ball either for Tom Cousins.
Yeah, we'll be interesting to see how he goes about this. No easy starting ball, but he's managed to find a starting ball.
The little plant has just developed there at the bottom as well. That can be made quite easily, so it's all about the black. He's got a really nice angle on that ball in the middle leg. If you want to fire up there and just kick it out, it's a bit of a, let's just say, a maverick type shot, but it is available.
Yeah, I mean, it's not absolutely crazy because he probably would be on the plant, but it would go against conventional theory, the idea of taking it on now when your other balls are at this end of the table.
He's looking at a shot on the middle shelf rather than one on the top shelf.
Yeah, I mean, he's actually quite a percentage player, even though you might not think it from some shots. He's not really one to take on a wild finish if you don't need to. I mean, he can play it at the end. If he leaves that ball over the middle, that shot will still be available to him later.
Yeah, but what I was saying is the way I would have played it initially would be at pace. I know you're taking chances, but cue ball and black both coming down the table towards the yellows. Obviously, there are certain scenarios that could develop from a bit of a wilder shot like that, as in knocking in the black and things like that. But I was a little bit like, you pay your money, you take your chance sort of attitude. But there you go.
Well, that's why you got your nickname. Not going to call you Basher if you're just rolling all the balls in.
How do you know that nickname was anything to do with pull?
So we're going to find out Tom's plan here. He's wisely left the ball over the right centre. That's by far the best ball to get up to the top of the table to get into the 8 ball.
I was going to tell you how I got that nickname now. I was playing a money match against a fella called Graham Sleeman in Somerset years and years ago. And the game was arranged and I beat him. I was 11-7 down and I won 12-11. And it was the old rules, and he was a real wily old fudger, you know, tapping balls about. And every time he tapped the pack, when he smashed them open, I was clear, just ridiculous finishes, not even looking. And the guy that backed him, he came up to me, he said, I rang and said, how'd you get on, Graham? He said, that bloke's an idiot. He said, all he does is bash them all around the table. He said, you're trying to play sensible shots, he just bashes them everywhere. And that stuck. So it could have been the idiot instead of the basher, but I decided against that one. Ooh, well, a friendly bump.
What a nudge that is. That's incredible.
Kira sort of having a smile behind Jake there. Yeah, he's landed on his feet there. Well, he gets a round of applause. Some shakes in the head. If, you know, I know what will happen here, because people have turned around and said, well, if anybody doesn't need any luck, it's him. And look at that.
I mean, again, you sort of make your own luck, don't you? He played the right shot. It was a very fortunate kiss, though. Well, there hasn't been a lot of luck involved in his progress to this final. That was a pretty helpful moment. I mean, there's nothing to say. He wouldn't have potted the 8 ball from wherever it was, but that certainly made life a lot easier for him.
You can also put him to win 2 frames of winning the World Masters as well, which he has never done before.
Well, that's not the usual break. He didn't catch it quite as straight, but he caught it every bit as hard, so it's been kind of rescued. Black almost went down, white almost went down.
They're all there though. Just, I'm having a quick look there. It has to be reds. Reds are really easy. Just roll that first one in over the bag. Your last ball's the red that's next to yellow over the middle on the left hand side. Probably take yellows now, I said that. He hits as well. Well, I am surprised. I would have had money on playing the reds there because they were really easy. There was an easy route. Drop the one in the middle, the 2 in the middle of the table there, those 2 at the bottom, red at the top there, just roll up for the black.
once again, this is the thing with the quality of his break. He just keeps leaving these seemingly straightforward finishes.
Yeah, it's not going to make any difference, but all Jake McCartney can do is sit and watch.
This is not going to be a particularly difficult loss for Jake to take if it does turn into a loss, because he hasn't really done a lot wrong. I mean, he could certainly have won 2 more frames than he has, but I'm not sure he feels right now that he could have won 8 more frames than he has. Tom has just been so dominant.
Yeah, I said he should have took yellows. I think he could take any colour, that wouldn't have mattered, but played them very well all the same.
This match has just gone by so quickly. It's been so entertaining. So the 8 ball is down. 9-2 in this race to 10. What a masterclass we've seen from Tom Cousins.
What you're witnessing is something as close to perfection as you can probably get on a pool table. I'm not joking, it's absolutely ridiculous what he's doing. Frame after frame after frame after frame. Tournament after tournament.
Well, that's the thing, isn't it? It's the consistency of it. I mean, one of the other great performances we saw today was Colette Hendrickson against Marion Jude. 7 first visit clearances in the first 10 frames. Great performance, but then in the final, Colette just couldn't quite repeat it. What makes Tom so impressive is that he just does exactly the same thing every match of every tournament.
Have you seen that? I think, did Jake McCartney say, "Can I have your break cue?" I think Tom's giving it.
Jake's a great guy to have around. He's always going to play the match in the right spirit.
He's having a look to see if it's worth a few quid. He's going to play with it as well.
I don't think I've ever seen that in a match before. Let's see how this works out for him.
What he wants to do is knock the tip off it.
Well, it was a better break, to be fair, even though nothing's gone down.
He's gone dry as well. That's brilliant. Absolute gold, that is, from Jake McCartney. What a character. He uses Tom Cousins' break cue and goes dry. It's not the cue, Jake. It's not the cue.
So will Jake get another go at the table? The way this match has gone, you'd have to say it doesn't seem that likely. Although it's not quite as easy a layout as we've seen in some frames. Yeah, and as you said, often uses the extension early on just to sort out the pattern.
Refused them.
Now, has Jake got the nerve to ask for Tom's playing cue as well, or is he going to use his own?
I wouldn't have thought he'd pass that over.
It's not a great position, is it? You come to the table and you're 9-2 down. The best player in the world had a look at this pattern and decided he doesn't fancy it. It's pretty hard to come to the conclusion you want to go for a clearance. So Jake goes for the containing shot. Tom is going to do the same. Haven't really seen much tactical play so far in this match.
I'd say we've seen 11 frames that have whistled by. And well, it's a battle to get on yellows, really.
Not so easy to play the same shot, well, not possible really to play the same shot. It's actually a better shot than it looks.
Yeah, he's left him a tempter. It's a long yellow into the bottom left-hand corner. And I think at 9-2 you take it on. Oh, he's taking the reds. Pot this, he's going to go loss of turn. Might pot the 2 reds at the top and play the loss of turn afterwards. And yeah, he can stick the cue ball. So when you play the loss of turn with the 3 reds, stick the cue ball behind the red that's just to the left of the yellow near the bottom rail. That's, I think, is what Tom was looking at. Here it is. So he drops this in. Cue ball stuffed behind the red at the bottom. There you go.
That's a very well executed shot. I know the balls were sat quite well to play that shot, but actually you could see him loading up with side to kill the pace and get in really tight behind the red. Excellent piece of cueing.
You see, Jake doesn't want to even be knocking that yellow away from the red that's just to the left as well. So he can see the thin edge of that yellow, but there's no value in it. So he knocks that way, he's just handing the tournament to Tom.
Yeah, that's the exact thought process he's going through, which is why he's got this wry smile on his face. Well, he's hit the red by mistake, so ball in hand. And surely this is the World Masters title.
He tried a little massage shot there and it obviously didn't come off, so ball in hand and everything open, Mark. This for the title. World Masters champion for Tom Cousins.
This has been a fabulous performance. Anybody that gets through a tournament with as many competitors as this, with a completely random draw, with shortish races in the beginning, deserves to win, but you will not see a more dominant route to the final than this one. And so far, assuming he clears these up, you won't see a better performance in a final. This has been absolutely relentless from Tom Cousins.
Well, it's been played in a great sporting atmosphere. We've had a bit of fun at the end there with Jake, borrowing Tom's break cue and breaking dry. But what a tournament for this man. He has been unbelievable from match to match to match. He's never looked like being in any trouble in any match. Probably the most one-sided tournament victory I've ever seen. He's destroyed the entire field. And this black for the title.
What a performance we have witnessed from Tom Cousins, a man who is frequently talked about in the conversation for the greatest of all time. Further burnishes his credentials for that. From the first ball of this tournament all the way through to the final, he has been nothing short of flawless, and he has come out in that final against a very talented opponent in the shape of Jake McCartney, and he has just blown him off the table with a high quality of pool. We'll take a short break. When we come back, we will have the presentation.
Welcome back, everybody, into the arena here in Blackpool, where we have witnessed greatness here tonight. A big congratulations to all our players, and in particular our two finalists, Jake McCartney and Tom Cousins. As for our runner-up, well, he is Australia's very best. He's come here over the last 2 weeks. He's won an Ultimate Pool Pro Series title, and he's ran to the Masters final as well. All impressively on 1 foot. Let's hear it for the one and only Jake McCartney.
Thanks, buddy.
You're very welcome, mate. Look, it's been so good having you back and playing to, you know, the level that we all know you can. How much have you enjoyed this tournament? Admittedly, the final was just a bit of a shutout in the end, but how glad you're with the run.
Yeah, look, prior to coming to England, if you told me I was going to win an Ultimate Pool event and then make the final of the Masters, you know, I'm not too disheartened. I've run into a roadblock there in Tommy in the final, but look, you know, he's the best player in the world. You know, me breaking dry and a couple of mistakes. It's like a 2-frame swing each time you do that. And, you know, congratulations. You know, he's the best player in the world right now. He's the man to beat. You know, deserves all the accolades that he's won and everything that's coming to him. And, you know, I'm not too disheartened, you know, making the final, but, you know, there's a lot of positive to take away the duration I've been here. But, yeah, you know, well done to Tom.
Well done, Tom. Well done to you, mate. Jake McCartney, everybody. And Jake did say a lot there, and it's starting to get to the point where you are running out of things to say about this fella. What a performance, what a tournament, once again, from Tom Cousins. Just phenomenal, mate. I mean, we've seen you do some special things on this table. We've seen you win countless prizes. I'm starting to think if I've ever seen you play better than you have done today. Today seems to have been really out the top draw. How special has it been?
Yeah, the last couple of days I've played really well. Feeling really comfy around the table, and I knew I had to play well against Jake, and luckily I did.
It was a super performance, and you know, it's very easy, I think, for people in the outside world to just see you because you are so comfortable around the table as this robot who wanders round, potting balls, winning tournaments. But that's not the case. It does mean a lot to you, doesn't it?
Yeah, it means everything to me. I mean, 2 weeks away from the kids is hard, but the tour and this, it's all worth it.
2 so far, but I know the job's not done, is it?
Yeah, I mean, still got a long way to go in the singles, but you know, if I carry on playing like that, I've got a great chance, and I'm just looking forward and hopefully play as well as I have been.
Well, looking forward to that, mate. But before then, we've got a trophy to present you. Enjoy the moment, TC. Going to welcome in President of the WEPF, Joe Fanto, to make the presentations. Your WEPF World Master for 2024 is Tom Cousins. Thank you so much for joining us, everybody. We're back with you tomorrow with the World Team Shootout live on Ultimate Pool TV and TNT Sports and your local networks from 11 o'clock UK time. We'll see you then.